The pivot turn is a fun and challenging paddle technique that can be useful in a lot of situations. Let's take a look. The first step is to shift your weight to the back of the board while transitioning your feet into the modified surf stance. Your weight on the back sinks the tail and brings the nose up out of the water. This allows the board to turn more freely and removes any drag caused by the front of the board trying to push its way through the water. Once you've created a pivot point with your tail, a few simple forward sweeps can spin you around fast in a confined space. A good pivot turn is a critical skill for both stand-up paddle racing and SUP surfing. Even going into it with a little bit of momentum, you can see here that you can have a lot of control over the direction that you end up going in. That's key for anybody who wants to make a tight turn in a race or catch a wave at the perfect angle. Standing in modified surf stance forces the body to be more open to one side of the board. In this paddler's case, it's her right side. Because of this, she's going to feel more natural and balanced performing her sweep stroke on the right side of the board. You can see here that a pivot turn really is just a normal old forward sweep paired with shifting your weight towards the back of the board. You should be comfortable with your forward sweep before moving on to the more challenging aspects of this turn, moving around on the board while staying balanced and dry. With practice, you'll eventually feel comfortable moving around on the board. Until then, there's a few things you can do to help you get more comfortable. Plant your blade on the board and use it for stability while making tiny adjustments with your feet. That's what our paddler's doing here. You also don't need to be extreme and go all the way back to the tail the first time you do this. Pivot turns aren't all or nothing. You don't have to go all the way back to the tail to start experiencing the benefits of a pivot turn. Move back to where you're comfortable and practice there. Eventually, you'll feel a little more comfortable moving back further, and one day you'll be on top of the tail. Once you're comfortable moving around on the board, you're going to need to build on that. Instead of placing the paddle blade on the board for stability, you're going to want to start getting comfortable using the blade as support while it's in the water. Resistance caused by gently moving your blade back and forth and pushing down on the water can provide an amazing amount of support. With practice and time, you'll learn to rely on your paddle to provide stability and help you recover your balance when necessary. This is a scary, fun, and ultimately satisfying drill that will help you practice your footwork. Remember, if you fall in, that means you're learning. Once you're comfortable moving around and using your blade as support, your pivot turns will improve fast. You can see here that our paddler is able to sink the tail pretty deep and also maintain control of the board. Right here, the tail of the board and the paddler's foot is completely submerged. Notice her head is positioned over her back foot. By shifting her head over her forward foot, she can flatten the board out, gain stability, and get a little bit of forward momentum. This is another drill that you should practice. You'll learn to trust yourself and your paddle. It takes practice to develop a sense of balance on the tail of the board, but it's totally worth it when you confidently pull off a sick pivot turn. Let's pull it all together and review the steps to a pivot turn one last time. Now you have the information you need to get started. Take the next step and join us at the Mission Bay Aquatic Center, where we've got what you need to succeed: the practice, the feedback, the fun, and of course the safety.